time and get as much of your clothing off as possible and soak it up. No one cares. Everybody only looks for 2 minutes. So I'll just finish on a couple of other bits. So the ovaries. If we don't have enough iodine in our ovaries, they're not going to function that delicate balance of an egg every month. So we're exposed to all these synthetic hormones where pesticides, herbicides, fungicides are synthetic estrogens. Then everything with an aroma, your aftershave, your deodorant, your wash fluid, your laundry softener, all of these things that you can smell, plug-in air fresheners, all of these things are carcinogenic, but they also push up your estrogen level for men as well. And that in turn hijacks the binding agent that your thyroid needs. So now your thyroid can't function properly. I've never seen a thyroid walk into the doctors on its own. I've never seen a set of teeth go into the dentist on their own. I've never seen a liver pick you up and say, I'm a bit congested. They're generally attached to the rest of your body. So why we have an ologist for this and an ologist for that, I don't know, because everything's connected, and when one thing goes down, everything goes down. So moving on to your testes, fellas. Your testes, zinc is stored in the testes and the prostate, and there's 2.7 billion people in the world that are zinc deficient. The glyphosate chelates the zinc so the plants can't take it up. And zinc stops your good testosterone being converted into the bad one that causes prostate cancer. It inhibits that enzyme. So every man in here should be eating pumpkin seeds, zinc-rich foods, and supplementing with zinc. For anybody in here that's doing bodybuilding and they're taking anabolic steroids, you're going to stop your body from being able to secrete its own testosterone, and you're going to get problems with your heart, your kidneys, your brain, your moods, everything. And you really need to think about that if you're doing all of that, to pump your body up thinking you look good right now down the gym with your tats. And then later you've got, micro testicles like marbles, and you can't get an erection, and your body's no longer secreting. I see you laughing. Are you using those, sir? So you're no longer secreting your own testosterone. So my advice to anyone who's doing that is you don't need to. You go through the history museums in London and you see all the old sculptures of these sportsmen. They didn't have any of that then. They had a clean diet and they had rippling muscles. And I can assure you, as a young man, you don't want to have erectile dysfunction and microtestes. And let me tell you, as a woman, we don't want it either. Just saying. So your kidneys, if you're, bombarding your body with loads of animal protein, which is not natural. We would kill something and probably eat it for a few days, and the rest of the time we would eat the herbs, the lentils, the pulses, the grains. We wouldn't have a plate with half a cow on it. And yet people do now, and then they have their potatoes, their chips, their eggs. Your body has to break the in order to use protein. It has to break it down so it can, like a foreign word, so that it can metabolize it. The amine portion can't be broken down to be used as energy or stored as fat, so it has to be excreted by the kidneys as urea and creatinine. So your kidneys have to work really hard. Then your heart has to work hard. So if you're eating loads of animal protein and loads of eggs, and if you're eating that horrible whey protein, I see loads of autoimmune diseases with people that have these whey protein powders. If you're doing that, then your kidneys are working harder, your heart harder, you're hanging on to sodium now and letting go of potassium. Now your cells become waterlogged, so sugar in the presence of oxygen is not going to happen. So you're going to get tired. The cell won't be relying on oxygen, so now what happens? The DNA gets damaged. If your immunity is not working well because you're deficient in vitamins, minerals and enzymes, you're not going to be able to mend that DNA or cause that cell to die. So that cell's going to divide. It's now a mutation. It's going to keep on dividing. What have you got? A palpable, detectable tumour. Now do you see? Do you see how this all happens? I love the human body. Wheat, we talked about hybridized wheat. In 1969, an agronomist came along and said, I've got a great idea to feed the world. We're going to have wheat that grows this big with a big yield, and it's not going to fall over because it's not as tall, so the mice won't get it and the rats. We're going to feed everybody. That hybridized wheat is going to give you holes in your gut, and it's going to give you the highest blood sugar. It's the worst thing you can eat. So everything you buy in that supermarket is hybridized wheat, unless you're eating spelt or kamut and it's organic. I mean, it's just really high sugar, and that should frighten a sandwich right out your hand. The dairy we see now, A1 milk. There is an explosion of multiple sclerosis and diabetes type 1 in India, and they don't care. Because what they've done is robbed the country of the big buffalo cows, and they've pushed in the black and white Frisian cows, which is the A1 milk. What they then do is all your formula milk is A1 milk. Now you're giving all these babies the vaccines, and they're now getting shrapnel in their gut, little holes. Then you've got the madwives telling them, give your baby some baby rice, which they can't digest, it's going to knock them out. Then you give them the formula milk, and this is actually what they did years ago. You had this push to get the Indian women giving their babies formula milk, and they were making it with just regular water. And all these babies ended up getting really sick, and they all went to the kiosks and got Imodium, and the babies all died of paralytic ileus. They didn't care as long as they sold them the formula milk. Now that formula milk, number 67 in the amino acid chain, is called beta-casomorphin. It turns into a morphine derivative in the body. So if you've got holes in that baby's gut on the vaccines and the hybridized wheat, and then you shove a bottle of this A1 milk in its mouth, where's that going to go? Because we've got Wi-Fi in our house, haven't we? And the life is in the blood. It's going to go to the brain, and it's going to depress the respiratory centre. What do we see in vaccinated bottle-fed babies more prevalent? Cot death. Cot death. They've actually got studies on that from the 70s, so they know that it causes it, but they don't care. And like I say, multiple sclerosis, it's interesting that Epstein-Barr virus, it goes and sits in the myelin sheath, the beta cells, and it sits in the thyroid in the beta cells. And when that virus is active, it starts to destroy it. In one study for multiple sclerosis, when they looked at the brain tissue of those that had died, it tested 100% in every patient for Epstein-Barr virus. So is it Epstein-Barr virus or is it MS? And they put Epstein-Barr virus in vaccines. Isn't that nice of them? Make you sick, keep you sick. So your anti-inflammatories, we'll just quickly go through, nearly finished, quickly go through. Who's taking anti-inflammatories? Anybody here? Have anybody got arthritis? Come on, we're all friends. So what they do is they put you onto anti-inflammatories, and even the ones that you buy over the counter. If you take anti-inflammatories long term, you've got a 400% chance increase of being admitted to hospital. And what that anti-inflammatory does is it blocks a thing called the COX-1, COX-2 pathway. Isn't it just genius when they can block chemicals in your body? Because the Lord was so stupid, clearly, that he made a mistake when he created us in his image. So that gets blocked, so now you can't make certain prostaglandins. And one of those, it affects so many different processes in your body, but one of those that you need is to break down your bones. So your eye cells renewed every 2 or 3 days, your cells in your digestive tract every 3 to 5 days, your respiratory tract. We actually rebuild our entire bodies, but our bones remodel all the time. We build an entire new skeleton. If you're taking anti-inflammatories, it blocks your osteoclasts. They don't work. They're the ones that break your bone down, and then that cement stimulates your osteoblasts to build it up. Those anti-inflammatories block that from working, those osteoclasts. So imagine you've got some tarmac with some holes in it, and instead of digging those holes out first, you just come along and put some new tarmac over the top. You're going to have a very brittle road, aren't you? That's what happens with you, with your osteoporosis. So you've got your osteoporosis because they're giving you omeprazole, because you've got stomach acid, because you eat your dinner late, or because your stomach's not acidic enough, because your thyroid function's gone down. Because your thyroid function affects how much stomach acid you've got. High blood pressure. You've got high blood pressure. So what they tell you is it's your cholesterol. Who's heard that? Your cholesterol's high. Your cholesterol, if you imagine your blood vessels like this, Your low density lipoprotein, oh, that's your bad cholesterol, they tell you. The Lord didn't make anything bad in our bodies. That low density lipoprotein is going to go wherever you've got holes in your blood vessels. If you're smoking cigarettes, you're getting about 4,000 chemicals that make holes in your blood vessels. Every chemical that you're exposed to will make holes in your blood vessels. So your low density lipoprotein is going to go there to seal it off. Now your brain loves fat because I've told you it's made of fat. In fact, all of your cells, the membranes on your cells are made of the fat, the oils that you eat, half of them and half protein, except for your brain, which is 70% fat. Your liver, 80% of your cholesterol comes from sugar, only 20% is made from your fat. So it's not the butter on your toast that's making you fat and giving you high cholesterol, it's the bread underneath, the carb, that's the sugar, because it gets broken down into sugar. So what they tell you then is your atherosclerosis is because of your cholesterol. It's not. It's your sugar, excess sugar, binding to protein, making your blood sticky and furring up your arteries. That cholesterol is just there to repair holes. So they give you what? They give you a cholesterol-lowering drug, don't they? A statin. It's the only drug you can throw it in the bin immediately. It's the only drug you don't need to wean off. So that statin, what does it do? It blocks that fat. Isn't it great when they do something to block chemicals? What could possibly go wrong? It also destroys CoQ10, the heart protective enzyme. So what do we notice about people that are on long-term statins? They get dementia, they get Alzheimer's, they get muscle weakness. Remember, your heart is a muscle. All your muscles in your body become weak, and they get breast cancer from taking that